Happy Friday, everybody. Friday starts the weekend, and we are here to make your weekend a profitable one through the props betting market. I am Andy Lang from WagerTalk.com. Joining me, as always, my fellow prop masters, Matt Josephs from SportsMemo.com and Andrew McGinnis from WagerTalk.com. We're going to go over some MLB pitchers and hitters stats. We're going to go over some thoughts on the Heat and the Nuggets, and football season is right around the corner, NFL and CFL. So we're going to take a look at some futures from the CFL, and then we're going to break down a few player props that we're going to do every week from now on until the start of the NFL season. So we're going to break down 3 quarterback props. Gentlemen, thanks for joining me. Let's get it started. Matt, coming to you first. We're starting to get into the dog days of baseball. Talk to us about some of your pitcher and your hitter props, any strikeouts, any outs props. What have you noticed so far in MLB?
Yeah, we're starting to get to that time where teams are starting to realize who's good and who's not. The Phillies are not good, so that's something to kind of look forward to. And we'll start with the Phillies. If you look, the Phillies this year have gone under in 26 of their 39 K props against right-handed starting pitchers. They're averaging about 4.4 in those games, yet 4 of the last 5 righties have had 9 strikeouts against the Phillies. It's one of the trends I don't trust. Even though they've gone under a lot against righties, I still don't think I'm going to automatically bet them. They've got too many holes in their lineup. Kyle Schwarber is still good for 1 or 2. JT Realmuto, Trey Turner's been striking out a lot. So the numbers tell you to bet the under, but I wouldn't recommend that. The Nats, a team that have been very reliable numbers-wise against left-handed starting pitchers. They're averaging 3.65 strikeouts against them. They've gone under in 13 of those 20 games, yet 7 of the last 9 left-handers have had 4 strikeouts or more, so maybe the trend could be turning a little bit. We see that a lot, actually, with regards to K-props. It's contagious. You have a stretch where you go over a lot. You have a stretch where you go under a lot, so maybe things are turning a little bit there. With regards to earned runs, 17 of the last 25 starting pitchers have held the Pirates to 2 earned runs or less. On the opposite end, 10 of the last 15 starting pitchers have given up 3 earned runs or more to the Arizona Diamondbacks. So that's something to kind of watch out for. Arizona's got a really good offense, or at least they've got a really hot and cold offense. And first 5 innings, Texas Rangers have the best first 5 inning offense at home. They're averaging 4.63 runs per game at home in the first 5 innings. The Marlins, the worst in baseball, 1.79 runs per first 5 innings. So Texas is really good. Miami is really bad when it comes to the first 5 innings.
Great stuff, Matt Josephs at SportsMemo.com. Matt, I wanted to just do a quick little follow-up. Are you finding yourself really focusing on the same teams and the same players right now? Like this time of year, are you really able to kind of figure out what teams you want to bet on or against, and then kind of figure out what teams there's just really not that much value in?
Yeah, I've actually played 11 K props involving the Boston Red Sox this year. I'm 8-3, and it's kind of weird because some of the times they've been on overs, and some of the times I've been on unders because this is a Red Sox team that's striking out a lot lately. So yeah, there's certain pitchers. The Shane Bieber numbers are still very high for some reason. The books keep hanging 5.5, so you keep looking at unders. Shane Bieber's just not what he used to be. If Marco Gonzalez or Noah Syndergaard gets a 4.5, then you look at the under there. But yeah, there's certain pitchers and teams that I feel like I'm finding a groove with and noticing them playing a lot more of their K-props or outs or whatever during the season.
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier if you can focus on the same teams and the same players, and then you're not having to worry about trying to handicap every single team in the MLB. All it takes is a couple of sweet spots to turn those profits. Andrew, coming to you, CFL, honestly, it snuck up on me. Last year was the first year I really took a vested interest in it. I loved it. I think it is a absolutely fantastic sport to handicap. You know, it checks all the boxes. There's a lot of trends that you can follow. There's not a ton of games every week, which I really like because all you need to do is pick a couple of spots. So I guess we're going to talk about some futures, and then your best bet at the end of the show is going to be about CFL. Can you give us a little rundown of CFL and what you expect for this upcoming season?
Yeah, Andy, well, first of all, I'll say it again. I was really excited to see you get into the league, and it is a really fun one to bet because think about how many games everyone's handicapping in the NFL every single week. Now just pretend you just only have to do 4 of them. And that's what you're doing every week in the CFL, right? I mean, should be a little bit easier. I'm not saying it always is, but picking your spots, picking your games, and I'm excited to announce we are doing a CFL show on WagerTalk as well. So I'm going to have Prop It Up where I'm just doing CFL props because they're a lot more widely available. And then our CFL show will be covering a lot more totals and sides. But the big thing in CFL, Andy, is change. There's a lot shorter of contracts. So every year, pretty much before I do any of my research on like the actual numbers and the players, I have to look at just where everybody ended up. And that's a huge factor in this league. But I'll start with one thing I really like. I really like the BC Lions to have an awesome season. They have two great quarterbacks. They lost a really, really important player with Nathan Rourke. He signs with the Jacksonville Jags. Disappointing for lots of CFL fans and Canadians that supported him, but also great to see a player of his capabilities move on, and try and chase that NFL dream. But there's two quarterbacks more than capable. I think Vernon Adams Jr. will be the quarterback that will be getting the nod for the first few games there for them. Started 8 games last year, 1,500 yards with just 1 interception. I really like that. I mean, in the CFL, there's a lot of deep balls. And, the fact that this guy only threw 1 interception, that gives me lots of confidence. You got Lucky Whitehead, Rhymes, a really good pass rush. And everyone's talking about teams like Winnipeg and, even Saskatchewan, what they can do, Calgary. But I think at plus 550 for the Tiger Cats to win the Grey Cup is a pretty good wager to make. So what I'm planning to do is give that out right now. And then near the midway point of the season, on Prop It Up, even when we're talking about the NFL, to sneak in another in-season future wager to give out. But I like that one quite a bit. I also like the Toronto Argonauts over on their win total. There's so much to look at. But when you look at kind of how this team performed last year, they started off super slow, ended up winning the Grey Cup. But they're a team that's built off defense. They were able to sign all kinds of key guys back. I talked to you earlier about how change is a big factor. Getting to re-sign some of these guys, having such depth at the running back position, I believe is super important as well. I'll take them over 9.5 wins. And I just wanted to say that there's such, it's just so nice that there's so many different props available now. And we do have some props available for the season long. And Lucky Whitehead from the BC Lions, he's listed at 7-1 to have the most receiving yards this year. As I mentioned, I believe the BC Lions will have a big year. They will contend in the Western Division. And if that's the case, I believe that Lucky Whitehead has a big reason to do with that. So I'll take him at 7-1. You can get that at DraftKings and FanDuel, I believe, for him to have the most receiving yards in the CFL this season, Andy.
Nice. When is the CFL show going to be, Andrew? And just tell us a little bit about it, because I'm in on CFL, and I preached it last year to people that were similar to me, in that like, oh, I don't know what the CFL is, and then I started following your guys' picks. It was like, this is just a perfect sport to bet on. I love there's only 4 games. So when is the show going to be, and what can we expect from it?
Yeah, the show's going to be every single Wednesday. It's actually going to be hosted by Carmine. We're also going to have guests on the show as well, whether it's CFL managers, players potentially, news broadcasters here in Canada. A little bit easier with some of the connections that we have, and somebody as well that we know that's going to come on, Rob Braley. He's going to come on to help us. He's had really good connections with the CFL. And we're going to talk, a market mover each week. Where I think the line's going to move, kind of like what Teddy does with his opening line report. I'm going to do one free totals play, and then I'm going to break down a game without giving out a pick and let the viewers decide what they think. Give all my thoughts, dive deep, and then on a week-to-week basis, just give an update on the league. But like you said, Andy, it's not that many games, and my favorite part personally is that for the first few weeks of the season, there's one game Thursday, one game Friday, one game Saturday, one game Sunday. Like, forget out of here with the double headers. I don't need double headers. I'll take one game a day. I like that.
Yeah, and one thing I like about it is, if you get off to a really good start, like if you hit Thursday and you hit Friday, you don't need to push for your bets, or you can just lower the unit size to guarantee the sport. I really do love the sport. I loved watching it. I thought it was great. I can't wait for the season. So look forward to that, and don't forget to grab Andrew's CFL picks at WagerTalk.com. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Miami Heat and the Denver Nuggets, some notes off of the player prop from last night. Obviously, Miami was showing a little fatigue. They're at altitude. They only put up 93 points. I think they get a really big advantage than other opponents of Denver in previous series because, when you play that first game at altitude, every former player, basically every current player says that, that first game at altitude at Denver is just brutal. They're talking about how even the announcer before the game is just like, welcome to Denver over 5,200 feet above sea level. And they just really rub it in. But they get an extra day rest. In previous series, the opposing teams only had 1 day rest. Not the case. So Miami's going to have a couple days extra rest. I thought the pace was pretty slow. Miami took 96 shots, but you look at Denver, they only took 79 shots. Denver had the advantage in rebounding, but Jokic went under his rebounds. And I think that possibly could be a trend. I know Jokic went under his points, rebounds, and assists, even though he got a triple-double. If you're going to play Jokic on the triple-double, really you're playing him at home. He does it a lot more home than he does on the road. And, let's be honest, that triple-double hit very, very late in the game when he got his 10th rebound. So it was very close. I would not panic about Max Strus. In fact, I think it's a great buy low situation on him. 0 for 10 from the field, 0 for 9 from three-pointers. The last time he went 0 for from three-pointers, I believe it was the first round in a game he only played 17 minutes, and he went 0 for 1. The next game he came back and had 2. So I would go right back to Strus over his three-pointers. I thought Aaron Gordon was really effective inside. It became obvious that once he got that early seal inside the lane close to the basket, once he caught the ball, it was going to be a foul or a layup for him. I struggle with his consistency. I can't say I'd be excited to go back to Aaron Gordon again. He was 7 to 10 from the field, but that doesn't really guarantee anything. And for a guy that was around the basket as much as he only had 6 rebounds. Another guy that I think you could look at over his made three-pointers was Michael Porter. He was only 2 of 11 from three-pointers, but I thought he had good looks. He's taller than everybody that's guarding him, like way taller, like 4 or 5 inches. 2 of 11, if that guy gets 10 or 11 more shots from three-pointers, he's going to make 3 of them. That's just a matter of numbers. And then I thought Matt did a good job bringing up how this just does not seem like a Caldwell Pope type of series. 7 points, 3 rebounds, no assists in 36 minutes. They ran everything through Joker and Murray. That pick and roll that Joker and Murray have is just deadly, and I'm not really sure where KCP falls into it. You also had Bruce Brown getting minutes off the bench along with Green with 11 minutes. Even Christian Brown came in, had 8 minutes. So Caldwell Pope's unders might be a nice one. I would look at his points, rebounds, and assists because it sure doesn't look like he's going to be stacking the stat sheet in this series. So I think biggest takeaways was I would come back to Strus and Porter Jr. on their three-pointers. Maybe look at Caldwell Pope on the unders. And then Denver only scored 104, and I see their point total, their team total is about 111. I believe it's 111 and a half. I would go over on that. I think they're going to shoot better from three-pointers. They were only 8 of 27. They got whatever they wanted from the free throw line. Jokic did. So those are my takeaways. I'll see what the final numbers are on Sunday, but all plays will be found on WagerTalk.com. So, all right, gentlemen, we are going to jump to the NFL. And what we're going to do is every week here on Prop It Up, we're going to have a segment where we pick a couple of players and or teams, and we're going to break down some of their season totals. So what we've done is we're going to go with some quarterbacks this week, and we've got 3 of them here. Matt, you picked Jalen Hurts. His total is 3,750 and a half. We've got Jordan Love. His total is 3,350 and a half. And Trevor Lawrence, 3,975 and a half. So, Matt, anytime we have Jalen Hurts, a Jalen Hurts topic, and you're on the show, you get to go first. So what do you like about Jalen Hurts? What do you think? Over, under on this total?
So I think it's interesting because you look at last year, he had 3,701 passing yards, and that was in 15 games. Remember, he got hurt. He missed the Dallas game. He missed the New Orleans game. And, of course, that last game it really didn't matter because they had pretty much everything locked up. It's interesting. You look at his passing attempts; they've gone up a little bit every single season. I don't see any reason to think that he won't stick around the 460 attempts. Obviously, his weapons are the same, pretty much. They did upgrade, I think, at number 3 with Olamide Zaccheaus over Quez Watkins, although Quez Watkins has looked good in OTAs for whatever that's worth. I think it's a pretty solid number. This team wants to run the ball a lot, but for as much as they want to run the ball, they do throw it quite a bit. The other thing is the schedule's upgraded this year. They play Kansas City. They play Buffalo. They play some of the other tough teams, and which means they're going to be in some shootouts. The defense is not as good as it was last year. They're going to give up more points. I kind of lean towards the over a little bit here because I think they're going to have to throw the ball a little bit to keep up with these other teams out there. So I think I have a slight lean to the over here based off of last year's numbers, based off the upgraded schedule, and based off the fact that pretty much everybody is back from his wide receiving core and his tight end group. So lean to the over here. I know, Andy, you're usually an under guy, but I think over here might be a play here.
Well, you brought. I mean, you said it yourself. It's the magic phrase, Matt. Quez Watkins has looked good in training camp. No, I'm just kidding. You heard it here first. Matt's all in on Quez Watkins this year. Breaking news. Andrew, I want to get your thoughts here real quick on Jalen Hurts. What do you think? 3,750.5 over or under for you?
Yeah, well, I mean, very similar thoughts to what Matt said. I mean, looking at last year's start to the schedule, right? It looks pretty light. You know what I mean? It wasn't that competitive. And what does everyone talk about when they talk about him? They talk about how he just runs the ball. Is he a quarterback or a running back? I was tired of hearing that. Look at what he was able to do last year. The guy proved how strong he is throwing deep. He's capable of throwing the ball very, very well. And I think he'll do it a lot more this year, like Matt said, because of the schedule they're facing. So it's not as much about his capabilities as much as it is about the games that they're going to be involved in. And also, I believe that I bet a lot of running props with the Eagles last year, and I just think that they're going to have to throw the ball a lot more this year in some of the games they're involved in. So I'll tell you what, I'm not locking this in right now, but it's something that I'm slightly leaning towards the over, just simply based on the schedule. We saw, Washington, Jacksonville, Arizona, Detroit to start off the season. Look at that middle of their season this year. It's a lot tougher, like Matt talked about. And obviously that makes a big difference. Football is one of the main sports where that makes a huge difference. You heard Teddy this year on WagerTalk today talking about some of these season-long props for the MLB not being as advantageous for some players as they used to be, right? But NFL is one of the main sports where you can really look at a schedule and kind of make your selections based on who a team's playing and when they're playing them.
Matt, yeah, you got me dead on. I like unders on the future. I'm going under on Jalen Hurts. He only had 4 games above 300 yards passing last year. 8 games this year are against teams that were top 11 in pass coverage last year. I know rosters change. You mentioned the injury. There's always every player has the threat of injury. Jalen maybe a little bit more with his running, but I do love the way he runs. He really does protect himself. You don't see him out there taking, some of these dangerous shots. But I think he's got some tough pass coverage teams on the schedule. And to be honest, I think they have some blowouts. That's the big thing that I see with the Eagles is you got Washington. I think they stink. The Arizona Cardinals late in the season, they stink. I think the Giants stink. And so you look at some of those division games where you play the same team twice, you could absolutely see a scenario where he doesn't need to throw that much in a couple games against Washington and the Giants and Arizona. And if I get a few of those games, I think he comes in under. I do think that there could be some really good big shootouts with some of the teams that they're playing, like you said, Kansas City and Buffalo. But an injury makes this a pretty easy under, and I think the potential of some of these blowouts. I mean, he had some games where he barely threw 125 yards on these games where they just ran the ball, and with the plethora of running backs that they have, I think it could be a pretty there could be a pretty stunning amount of games that they're up big where he just doesn't need to throw the ball a lot in the second half. So give me the under on Jalen Hurts.
I'd argue that Matt and I have to hope in those blowouts he's throwing the ball. You're talking about all these blowouts. I think we're hoping that in those blowouts they get to that point by throwing the ball. So,
It could be. It could be. I don't know. I can see Washington, whoever quarterback they're going with, throwing the ball to the wrong team for a couple of big sixes, where Jalen Hurts gets no yards on that one. Jordan Love. This to me was the hardest one, Matt. Jordan Love, 3,350.5 over under. What do you do with Jordan Love here on this total?
Well, start with the Packers fan. I'm interested what Andrew said. I'll bounce off of Andrew here, but I'd like to hear what the Packers guy has to say about his new anointed quarterback.
Yeah, and look, what I like the under, guys, but it's not like I don't like him. It's just that I know that there's going to be a drastic change to this offense. There's going to be a drastic change to who's making decisions. Losing a few guys, of course. I believe the Green Bay Packers are going to be a team that's simply not very fun to watch. I mean, Matt said it. I'm a fan. Anybody that watches Prop It Up knows I'm a fan of this team. I believe that they're going to be involved in a lot of games that are coming down to the wire, that are really tight, and they're really heavily relying on their defense to get it done. I also believe Jordan Love's going to run the ball quite a bit. They're going to set up lots of plays for him to run the ball, and low risk, especially to start the year. You can have training camp. You can have preseason. He's been out there in the preseason before. But to be honest, guys, I think that you can't replicate that real game shape. And how many options and how many times did he even get out there in a real game last year? Let's be honest. I mean, he's played a little bit of NFL regular season football. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's seen the field enough. So when I looked at this number, we don't have many numbers to back it up with, besides just looking at what the Packers have done in general through the year with a complete different quarterback, obviously. But I think just with the mixing in the run game, mixing in, their defense going to be on the field probably a lot more than usual. I don't think he's going to be able to get there, guys. I like the under, but it's not a shot against him. I just think it's really going to be a heavy run team this year.
Matt, what do you think? Jordan Love, does he get over this total, or are you with Andrew? You on the under?
I think I'm on the under here too. I think that there's going to be some value, though, in certain situations. I think there's going to be games where, as Andrew said, they're going to run the ball a lot. It's going to stay close. But I think there's going to be certain games where there could be some value on either his passing yards over or his touchdowns over, because I don't think they're going to be afraid to let him go. I just think they're going to prefer to just run Aaron Jones, run A.J. Dillon, and let those guys do what they do. So I think season-wise, he's an under, but I think there's going to be certain games we come on here on a Friday, and I'm like, you know what? This is a Jordan Love game if I've ever seen one. So, yeah, season-long under, but there will be times I'll be on his over at some point.
I actually lean a little bit to the over on this one. I think part of the reason that I'm looking at is it's a great schedule. I mean, starts off, Chicago, Atlanta, New Orleans, Detroit, Vegas. And then they get a bye week before they go at Denver. Then you're looking at Minnesota, the Rams, the Steelers, the Chargers, the Lions, the Chiefs. You've got a lot of really good games. And the other thing I think about this is, even if they're involved in games that are blowouts, or if he's struggling, this is a year for the Packers to really see what he can do. So I think he's going to have the green light to throw a ton. I think they need to see how he gels with these wide receivers. And I think if there's some games, I mean, like this game against Kansas City on December 3rd, all signs will point to a really nice Kansas City win as long as everybody's healthy. I could absolutely see that Jordan Love stays out on the field in the fourth quarter and just tries to They run a bunch of plays to see what they have with him. I could see a lot of garbage yards with him. I can't say it's a strong play. I default to our Packers fan on the panel in this one. So I think I'll go with Jordan Love on the under, but maybe ever so slightly to the over. So.
It's just me setting myself up, Andy. You know what I mean? If he goes over and has a great year, then and if he goes way under, I win money. It's it's one of those. It's a personal hedge.
Betting against your favorite team is always a win-win situation. It's fantastic. So, all right, Trevor Lawrence. I get to face Trevor Lawrence and now Calvin Ridley a couple times a year with my Indianapolis Colts. His total is 3,975.5. I'm going over on this one. He was over 4,000 yards last year. I think they have the right coach in place with him. I think he's going to get better. On paper, a really, really good schedule. Only 2 games against top 10 pass defenses last year. And here's something sneaky about the schedule. In November and December, Trevor Lawrence only has 1 game where he's really going to be playing in cold weather. That's at Cleveland on December. I mean, obviously his games are down in Florida, but his away games, he kind of avoids a lot of cold weather teams. You know, they have a game against Baltimore, but that's at home. He's on the road for a couple games. One of them is at Tampa. So I think he's got good weather in the colder months where you could see where you could see some really cold, windy games where some of the quarterbacks struggle, but I don't see that with him. I mean, he gets to face my Colts twice. He gets to face the Texans twice. This isn't a guy that puts himself in a lot of danger for getting injured. And I think I like the Jaguars. That Calvin Ridley addition is going to be good once they get on the same page. So as long as he avoids injury, I think this goes over. And to be honest, I really don't think it's close. Matt, what do you think about Trevor Lawrence?
So I think it's a really good number because he went over this last year, and obviously he adds Calvin Ridley, and we're assuming that Calvin Ridley is going to be like 60, 70% of what Calvin Ridley was. Because, I mean, let's be honest, he did take the year off, essentially. He is still a really good wide receiver. And as you said, Doug Peterson is the right coach to have this kind of system in place. My one worry, and I don't, this is one of those things where you have to kind of think outside the box. You might get one less game, at least with him, because they might win this division by a couple of games. So now a guy who we usually count on to play 17 games may only play 16. And let's be honest, if they win this thing by enough, that he may only play 15 and a half. Who knows? But I am a little bit worried about Jacksonville winning this division by so much. They don't need that last game. And quite often, folks, that's when we're looking at these things as deciding factors. Take away a 250-yard passing day or whatever. He goes under this number last year because of how close it was. So I agree with you. The lean is to the over here, but my worry is they're going to win this division by so much. They're not going to need him that last game. And who knows? Maybe he doesn't play all of that week 16 game either.
I can't believe we're living in a world where the freaking Jacksonville Jaguars may sit players in the last week because they're running away with this division. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. It's awful. It's terrible. It's blasphemy. Andrew, what do you think about
That's how I know I'm getting
Lawrence?
old. That's how I know I'm getting old,
I know
guys.
you're getting old. Jaguars are sitting players late in the season.
All I've ever known in my whole life is they stink. So, I mean, that's how I know. It's nice to see some change, and welcome back to Calvin Ridley. I think he made some good money buying Matt and Andy's picks last year, cashing in on those, so making some good parlays. But he's back now, and he's out of the gambling business. But when I look at this play overall, I actually lean a little bit towards the under, and I look at, I like what you said there, Andy, about the weather and stuff, but I look at his attempts from last year. You guys know I love the completion and attempt props. I'm looking here. I'm seeing 42, 47, 43, some of these massive, massive numbers. And kind of my thought process when I first saw the names that Matt sent in last night to us was, aren't they going to be better this year? Aren't they, they're finally settling in as a good team. Maybe he won't have to attempt to throw the ball that many times. They are a team that had a lot of long drives, and they've got a lot of guys that are willing to catch the ball deep downfield, which makes a difference. But it's kind of like what you guys were just talking about. I mean, if they're a team that's as good as they're expected to be in some divisional games as well, will he have to, in the second half, throw the ball as much as he did last year? That's my biggest question. Looking at completions, looking at attempts, he might not be top 8, top 10 in attempts this year.
Well, it's a great way to start this. Jalen Hurts, Jordan Love, and Trevor Lawrence. If you want to leave your comments, you want us to break down any player props or any team props, please let us know in the chat or just leave a comment. Don't forget to like the show and leave any comments that you have on anything that you would like us to cover. We're going to be doing some NFL player or team props each week here. So real quick, Matt, tell everyone what you have for this weekend and where we can find you at.
Sportsmemo.com. After a rough month or so, a 22-10 run in the pitcher props, things are going well. So you can find that. I got a package up for today, and of course, College football preparations are underway. All the win totals are out, so we're starting to take a look and finding some value there, and have done really well in college football the last 3 years, and looking forward to the start of that season. So certainly the preparation for that is underway.
Great stuff from Matt Joseph, sportsmemo.com. I'm Andy Lang from WagerTalk.com. We're going to get to our best bet in a minute with Andrew giving us a CFL play. I've got a promo code up, Andy3, ANDY3. Get you 3 days for $39 Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Weekends have been really good for us the last few weeks. So encourage everyone to get that. We've got UFC plays that are up, MLB, and of course, we got a really nice Formula One race and a golf tournament as well. So go ahead and grab all those. Andrew, tell everyone where we can find you, what you have up, and let's give out our best bet in the CFL.
Yeah, of course, over at WagerTalk.com as well. CFL season's approaching, all kinds of win totals, season-long player prop predictions, and my season-long package as well. It's a long, long season in the CFL. Everyone talks about the dog days of summer, just betting baseball every single day. Well, I'm here to save you from doing that, and you can join me along with some CFL. It was another profitable season last year, and looking forward to jumping into the prop world with CFL picks and with my clients this year. Of course, the NHL Stanley Cup Finals starts tomorrow. I'll be heavily invested in that. A lot of props. I'll probably be staying away from big bets on the sides or totals, but I feel like I have a good read on both these teams as far as the prop market is concerned. Good to jump into the best bet here, Andy?
Absolutely.
All right, guys. So I do have a win total in the CFL. I know it's an investment. I know it's going to be something you're riding out all summer, but I really do recommend jumping in on this with me. We are rocking with the Calgary Stampeders from the Western Division over 9.5 wins. This Calgary Stampeders team had a successful year last year. They finished 12-6. Their number's at 9.5. The books and overall, these CFL writers are expecting a little bit of a slip this year from the Stampeders when some of the other teams rise up. I do not expect that at all. This Stampeders team went 1-5 last year against teams with a better record than them. And, those games were all incredibly close. You fixed a couple mistakes. You win a couple of those on late drives. That record is even better. You're looking at 13, 14 wins. This is a really solid team. They just picked up an excellent pass rusher, Julian Hauser, in the offseason. 30 tackles, 7 sacks last season. Jake Meyer taking over at the quarterback position, officially full-time. I'm getting ready. I'm all in here on the Calgary Stamps, over 9.5 wins, a very well-coached team. And my favorite part about this wager is there's not too much change with the Stamps. I mentioned in the CFL, big problem is there's always lots of change with rosters every year. This team is very similar to who they were last year. I'll take the Stamps over 9.5 wins.
Great breakdown, and don't forget to look out for that CFL show. A lot of great information, and CFL is a great sport to add a couple units to your bankroll each and every week. Looking really forward to the season. So great work, gentlemen. Looking forward to next week's episode. I'm sure we'll have some NHL, NBA, MLB, and of course NFL. Hopefully some more CFL as well. And thank you to everybody in the chat. You guys know who you are. Don't forget to leave a comment. Let us know if you want us to break down any particular players or teams. We'll see everyone next week. Let's have a profitable weekend, and we'll see everyone next Friday on Prop It Up.
Welcome to the new Top 3 3-Day $30 special. The front page leaderboard at WagerTalk has become the go-to first stop spot. While being at the top of the 3 and or 7-day rankings is an honor, being on top of the leaderboard over the last 30 days is a symbol of greatness. And we want to share that greatness with you. So for the first 3 days of every month, the top 3 leaders in profit, winning percentage, and return of income will have a 7-day all-access pass available at a 30-day savings. Regularly priced at $99, you can grab 7 days with any or all 3 leaders for just $69 each. So on the first of every month, head to Deals tab on the top of WagerTalk.com to find out which of our red-hot handicappers will have their 7-day all-access packages available for under $10 per day.